they bury in the Solomon seal. No, it has been lost. For they grow amongst lost sailors, and they grow amongst the seals, and they grow through the horses' bones, and they wave across these fields. Let it go. Let it all fall away. Fools may think they rule the world, but the sun, the sand, the sea have their way. All fall away. Fools may claim to rule this world, the sun, the sand, the sea, the moon, the sand, the stars will have their way. Talking about the light returning, I was just thinking about we're just getting into even coming to Sudbury. I mean, coming to Sudbury is exciting, but oh yeah, but it is west of Ottawa, and it's out of Ottawa, which is really exciting for me. But coming here, just noticing that the sun it's not setting. You know, you can have cocktail hour, you know, and it's not dark, you know, it's not depressing, you know, and you can start thinking about taking the flannel sheets out of bed. That was a mistake. I have vinyl sheets on the bed, that's like pretty kinky. I didn't mean to mention it so early in the evening, but anyway, there it is. I sleep on vinyl sheets. Okay, I'm going to be careful here tonight. Anyway, so at this time of year, say in Rincon Inlet, the sun is advancing 8 minutes a day. So you get 56 minutes a week, and you notice that every day. For photographers, you get up at 7:30 in the morning and the sun's coming up. You know how normally if we're taking photographs, you got half an hour. There, it's 4 hours of fantastic light. You go out, and there'll be a piece of grass that's casting a shadow 25 feet long. It's across the snow. It's just fantastic. It has nothing to do with the song, but more about Kate said, which I enjoy. But this is about Kuujjuaq, and I don't know what's happening in Kuujjuaq now, but this is about a dog there, and I suspect that the dog is dead now because it had no car since when I met it. We were coming into Kuujjuaq, and it's a blonde dog, and they don't like blonde dogs for some reason in northern Quebec. Go figure. Anyway, so we were flying into Kuujjuaq with a group called Students on Ice, and there's some brochures right out there, and you're welcome to them. It's a really neat organization. We had 78 kids on this trip, and we went to come into Kuujjuaq, and we looked down the tarmac, and there was a dog on the tarmac. The dog was not moving; it was wagging its tail at us, you know. And it was so we circled around for 15 minutes, and finally someone came out in a half-ton truck and grabbed it by the scruff of the neck, tossed it, and we landed. Out of the tarmac, out through the luggage rack comes the dog. It was our dog, and it guided us all the way down to downtown Kuujjuaq, into the mayor's office, over to the barbecue, and the last thing I remember seeing as we headed down the river was the dog standing in a very kind of marine-like pose, looking nobly, but his tail was still wagging at us, so I had to write this song. The Walmart. It's creatively titled Dog Tail Wagging. There's a dog-tail wagon on the gravel road looking for a friend. Would you be my friend? Would you be my friend in a northern town? Dog-tail wagon. There are 5 kids waving on ATVs, screaming in the wind, screaming in the wind. The gravel flying in the summertime, 5 kids waving. And there's a dog-tail wagon down the gravel road looking for a friend. Would you be my friend? Would you be my friend in a northern town? Dog-tail wagon. And there's a white tent standing on a black spruce hill, out on the land, out on the land. A country food and time stand still, white tent standing. Yes, there's a dog-tail wagon on the gravel road looking for a friend. Would you be my friend? Would you be my friend in a northern town? Dog-tail wagon. Where the fireweed waving down the gravel road, it's a flame in the wind, wind in the flame. Old res houses pew on the hill, fireweed waving. And there are 6 kids smoking at the co-op store. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? Time too slow in a northern town. 6 kids smoking. Yes, there's a dog-tail wagon down the gravel road looking for a friend. Would you be my friend? Would you be my friend in a northern town? Dog-tail wagon, dog-tail wagon, dog-tail wagon. Thank you. This next song is called Black Spruce, and I can't remember the guy's name, but I wrote this song in response to it. He wrote this song called Rocks and Trees and Trees and Rocks, about how boring northwestern Ontario is. Yeah, whatever.
I think it was Swan LaBelle.
And he just doesn't get northern Ontario. Northern Ontario is about the mantra of the black spruce, and you don't get the black spruce until you're paddling down the river and you see it in verse in the mirror of the river. And after you're in for 3 days, you start seeing the zen of the black spruce, you know? And to me, that's where I wrote this song. It's also remembering my dad. My dad was an engineer who worked for a paper company. He said, you know, the trees are too close together up here. All you should do is cut them down. They pretty well did. That's not right. That's closer. Just a second. Black spruce, heart of the northern river, through the black hollow, clouds and trees and roll, to the black spruce, onward ever deeper, calm this restless heart, soothe the restless soul. I am the raven high o'er the river, I am the black ones that carry me home. I am the night sky deeper and deeper, so many stars always alone. To the black spruce, heart of the northern river, through the glass on ripple clouds and trees I know. To the black spruce, onward ever deeper, calm this restless heart, soothe the restless soul. I am the wind sigh night through the jackpine. I am the birds on the way. I am the whisper at the heart you're longing. I with a heartbeat pounding to the black spruce, heart of the northern river, through the glass on ripple clouds and trees I know. The black spruce song would ever deeper, calm this restless heart, soothe the restless soul. I am the storm clouds building and building, I'm the fury, the thunder, the light. I am raindrops, bird song, sing the morning. I am white water, heard in the night. To the black spruce, heart of the northern river, through glass I ripple, clouds and trees I know. Black spruce song would ever deeper, calm the restless heart, soothe the restless soul. I am these things, all of your longing, all of your questions, ask me no more, for I am the whisper at the heart of your longing. So comfort your heart and slip it through the door. That's the black spruce, heart of the northern river, through the glass auricle, clouds and trees I know. To the black spruce, onward ever deeper, calm this restless heart, soothe the restless soul. Rushing paddle through the lingering mist of the northern lake. That's my canvas, my canoe. Can you see me clearly now? Rushing paddle stroke by stroke the northern river of your public schools. There, I was seen down every hall. Can you see me clearly now? But I'll come to you alive as all the colors you'll imagine on a canvas. The days of springtime and the threatening days of fall, I've gone quiet. There seems so little time to paint it all. I love this world of water, that turning out of paddle, that perfect swirl of circles, now the past. Vermilion, cobalt, crimson, the sky is now electric, and the light is moving fast. Russian paddle stroke by stroke as west winds move the future of white pines. I cannot know the future, I only know this moment and how it is defined. But I'll come to you alive as all the colors you'll imagine on the canvas. The promised green of springtime and the threatening grays of fall. I've gone quiet. It seems so little time to paint it all. I come to you by pushing paddle through the mist, Bill Mason. Why even Pierre Trudeau? For I am your great mystery, I am your great need. And Thompson, yes, Thompson is my name. I come to you by Russian paddle through the lingering mist of the northern lake. And it's kind of a place that it's kind of a home for me. I've been there quite a few times now, but I remember the first time being confronted by these mountains that don't sort of come out like the coastal mountains on BC, and they're not covered with beautiful greenery. It's just this in a frontal. You come off the Davis Strait and you're faced with this wall that goes up maybe 6,000 feet. And it just is straight up. And there's dikes and sills, black dikes and sills, winding their way up. It is incredible. And then there's these little notches that you go into fjords that will end up opening up, and you'll go 14 kilometers into them. In one case, I was with a Russian captain, and he decided, we came to the end, and that was the end of where Nav Canada's navigation went. He opened up the second drawer, which was the Russian maps of Labrador. And we went in 14 more kilometers. Yeah, and in the end, at the very end, he had us and Zodiacs out on the side to see, because they couldn't back out. He had to twist it around, so it was about the length of the ship and the width of the fjord at that point. Wow. And we were on either end, like that far around, but this guy was a bit of a cowboy. But it was kind of fun. There was another guy that I went with who was not so much fun. He missed it. He was it didn't work out well for him. We were on an icebreaker called the Polar Star, and it has a draft of about 26 feet. And Nav Canada had not noticed, or where they did their lines, had missed a lateral moraine that went across the fjord. Oh. And over, and it was his first, first week as captain of the ship, and he should not have been wearing khaki pants. So this is about that area, and it's in the north arm of Saklak Fjord, where I was listening to a guy who was just out on the tundra. He was a hoop drummer, and he just was the landscape. The sound of it was the heartbeat of the landscape. He belonged there, the music belonged there, everything. In the same way as maybe an Andean flute indicates the western cordillera of South America, or a bagpipe would in the Glen, or hip hop music does in New York City. Raven calls, so songs wrong. You are the wind, you are the sky, you are the land, you are this place, you are this place. When dust aside, I songs time over time, the changes come. Will come again, be not denied. You are this place, you are this place. When I hear you drum, when snow geese call, and winter comes, the buntings fly, the northern nights bring back the sun. You are this this place. When God's aside, so I songs over time, changes come, will come again, be not denied. You are this place, you are this place. When I hear you drum, you are the wind, you are the sky, you are the land, you are this place.
Bravo.
I'll do 2 more songs and then take a break. And this song is the song that Kate asked me to do. It's a song I haven't done in a while, in part because it's so specific, and I hope that you can kind of get it. I understand there was a picture of me, a kind of interspecial relationship on the poster. I was with a wiener. A wiener is just weaned from, it's an elephant seal, and it's just been weaned by mom. And so they hang around the beach. They weigh about 900 pounds, and they wait for a couple of months until their teeth come in, and then they leave Gold Harbor, where the shot was taken, and they're basically a sweet relief for the killer whales that are waiting outside. 75% of the weaners don't make it to the first year. You know, so this little elephant seal, which was really, really cute, came up and got on top of me. At 900 pounds, there wasn't a lot that I could do about it, but it opened up its mouth and was kind of going like this to my face. So I put my thumb in there, and because his teeth were coming in, it was just like a baby, and it was in ecstasy. You know, and there were people saying dark things about me and my relationship, but at least it wasn't the 2 million penguins that were there, you know, and I had a taste. Anyway, so this is where that came from, and it's on this place, paradise on earth, called South Georgia, which is off of South America, and there's 2 towns in it, Griffiths and Stromness, and this song is located in Stromness in, what, 1917, Kate? Shackleton went on a journey to do his trip across Antarctica. His ship, Endurance, got caught in the ice. They drifted up the Antarctic Peninsula. They hoped to get to some station, but they missed it, and so they got in several lifeboats and went across an impossible, the Scotia Sea, to Elephant Island. They realized that they were just stuck there, so he left 28 people. He took 6 in a lifeboat that they sort of made as waterproof as they possibly could, and they took 3 troublemakers with them. And the 3 troublemakers they took with them, Shackleton was a really smart guy. He said, if we leave those 3 there, all 28 will die. So he took them with him in the cart, and they went, and during this, they were headed to South Georgia. If they missed South Georgia, they were on their way to Africa. They had 1 day for a sextant. 1 day where they could do a sighting in the 28 days it took to travel 400 nautical miles. 1 day, and they hit it, but they hit it on the wrong side of the island. So they had to climb up 11,000-foot peaks to get to the other side to Stromness. Now, some of you may know the mountain climber Reinhold Messinger. Well, he attempted it in 1967 with modern gear, and he did it, but he said he had no understanding how Shackleton, Worsley, and Tom Crean ever did it. And this song is set as they're coming down the mountain by a waterfall named Shackleton Falls into Stromness Harbor. And where I pick up the story, because I'm kind of interested in another perspective, you know, because we've got the one. The first people to see Shackleton was a brother and sister. And they thought that they were Yetis. And I'll explain that. They did, because they had not washed for 3 years. And they had long beards, and their clothes were all rags. And so they smelled. And they smelled them coming. And so it was quite a thing. And the rest is in the story. Basically, this is from the kid's point of view. I hope I remember it. I had been watching Shackleton long before I saw his face. Tom Crean up behind them, Worsley back a ways. They were coming down the mountain My sisters all in come, they were looking as though wounded, and I wasn't too far wrong as Shackleton stumbled. He stumbled to strongness. Yes, Shackleton stumbled. He stumbled to strongness. Their beards were black and crisp, their clothes were almost slack, and I got to say they smelled some. Their eyes were gaunt and slack, but I knew that they were human, 'cause I'd seen them on the falls. But where they had come from said it all. And Shackleton stumbled, he stumbled to strongness. I saw their faces, their hollow, deep-set eyes, and I knew that they had been seated where they must have seen the guide. And my sister, she ran away. She was scared, I guess, but I figured I might help them as they struggled to strongness. And Shackleton stumbled to strongness. Oh, and Shackleton stumbled to strongness. I never said a word to him, he said to me no more. But I took him to the agent's house, and he opened up the door. And the first one said, I'm Shackleton, but he'd been dead 3 years. And I knew the agent fell to his knees, but I swear I saw the tears. And Shackleton stumbled, he stumbled to strongness. Oh, and Shackleton stumbled, he stumbled to strongness. While the news had spread so quickly that the station was shut down, Shackleton's still living spread around the town. And when he was well again, he fetched me up again, and he thanked me for my kindness, and he gave me 6 pence. And Shackleton stumbled to strongness. Oh, now Shackleton stumbled, he stumbled to strongness. There's a book, it's this real page turn called Endurance, and check it out. It's just an unbelievable story. There was a documentary done, and I was down on Elephant Island at the time, and they made a replica of the carrot, and they were trying to do like an IMAX film of it. They didn't make it. And so we had the replica of the card on the back of our ship. And then all the guys that were supposed to be part of that crew were, sort of going, how did he do it? Because they tried it, and they had, they had modern equipment and everything else. And in this replica, they couldn't do it. But the one thing about the 3 sort of troublemakers, he left them on the far side of South Georgia, and then had a ship go to rescue them while he went over to get the others, the 28 on Elephant Island. He sent them back to England, and they went to jail for insubordination. He never talked to them again. So it's kind of an interesting sideline. I had a request to do this song, and I'm very happy to do it. This is a song, there's an allusion to single malt, and during a more vital part of my life, I destroyed my liver with single malt. I don't have that much anymore, but it took me to Scotland, to the island of Islay, where there's a critical mass of single malts. And I do remember there were 3 that were side by each. Port Ellen, 4 actually, Port Ellen, Lefroy, Lagavulin, and Ardbeg. And I remember crawling across the lawn at Ardbeg, and I looked up, and there was a guide there. Her name was Jackie Thompson, and she was really quite a vision. And my partner Amanda said, "You're going to hurt your neck like that," but it was too late. So I wrote this song for her, and the response was, "Why don't you ever write songs about me?" Well, I have, and I'll sing one in the second set, you know. I'll warm up to that. But only after I wrote this song. So I sent it to her, I got no response, you know. So, and then I sent the album, which is called Angel Share, and it was written after her. And then I got nothing, and then there was a choir did it. She sent me a note back, which proved that all the other ones were getting there, damn it. And she said, "Like the choir version." So I booked another ticket over there. No, I didn't. Anyway, so this song is about, she described the Angel Share, and everybody now knows what it is. Basically, you put the single malt in the cask and you leave it for 16 years. Well, each year, there's a certain amount that evaporates out of the cask. Well, and so a 16-year-old malt will have lost 20% of the volume in there. And you know this, what the Scots are like. This is enough to gnash your teeth and eat gruel for the next 14 years. But they are a poetic people, and they remember Robbie Burns once a year. The only country really, other than Pablo Neruda, that celebrates, you know, like a birthday for a poet. I mean, that's do we?
Robbie Burns.
Robbie Burns, yes, but it's from Scotland. I'm just thinking, what nation, you know, do you think there'd ever be a Milton Acorn Day? Or, let's say, why not a Robert Dixon Day?
Robert Dixon,
Robert Service Day.
A Robert Service Day. I think that, you know, that's better than making the Grey Jay the bird of Canada, you know? I think we should work on that. I think, can we have a seconder on that?
It's kind of movement.
Okay. This is called Angel Share. She's the heart of the Highlands, the queen of the Isles. She's the light after storms, she's the air. If you get lucky, you may come to her, but she got the angel share. And there's something about that light in her eye. It could be the toss of the hair. Well, it might be the look in her voice. I don't know, but she got the angel share. She's the iris, it's the springtime, the round and fall. And she's a smile to erase all your cares. She's a bird on the wing, she's the reason I sing, and she got the angel share. And there's something about that light in her eye. It could be the toss of her hair. Well, it might be the lilt in her voice, I don't know, but she got the angel. I'm not looking for the moon or the Walmart that's choking all these prairie towns. I'm not looking for the gold in the oil fields, boy, please remember how soon it will be gone. I'm looking for, I don't know what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the question. I don't know what she's in for. The sun shining by the ravens, Henry Charles. I'm guided by the raven. If you remember the got it. And there's something about I haven't done this song since I did the Willisville. In her voice, it'll be a long time. And it was a great experience. I have to tell you, saving Willisville was very instructive to me. And it was all about getting ahead of the curve. And I have to say that John Butler taught me a lot. I've been involved in many.
Thank you very much. We'll take a short break. Thank you very much for being here. It's really nice to be here for you guys.
They hear that far. So we started 2 years before we We played and did art, gallery things, sales. We had dances all over Northern Ontario. So, and then John had a second piece of sort of lateral thinking. He waited till Valley Inco was on strike, and they were just about to settle, and they needed a good news story. And they just had killed all the fish in a lake in Newfoundland, so they really needed a good news story. So then we approached them and said, could we save this mountain? Valley Inco went, please. We need something good in the news. And so they went for it. And just by being ahead of the curve, I really think in many cases, if you're involved in something like that, if you can get ahead of where it is, if you're always, like the Canadian women from the time they got on the ice, were playing behind the Americans all night, and they couldn't win that game because they just, from the very get-go, and you could feel it. You could just feel it. And it's the same with so many causes that if you're behind the issue, time-wise, you're not going to do it. So it just was something that I learned from her. Years from now, I hope you will remember, touched by some small thing that brings a smile, wandering through the west arm of Killarney, a walk through pines, a rainy day in fall, and with that smile perhaps you will remember a joke once told, a tease, a moonlit night. I see your smile surrender to the laughter. How scared we were, and yet it was so right. The light one day may catch you dreaming. The light one day may lead you through a northern town, and there you and I are walking and talking as if no time had gone. So if that happens in your future, I hope you never will forget. Years from now, I hope you will remember. Years from now, not yet. It's funny thinking about that, you know, I sing a song and suddenly I'm back there in Killarney. And what a fabulous place you have at your doorstep. It's just fantastic. We did a canoe run, what is it? Some Haiti Edward Island.
Oh,
Philip
Edward.
What a place. Man, what a gem.
World
And
class
then just
kayak, I
walking
think.
down the veins of Killarney, you know, just, it is, you know, and still people don't know about it. Shh, don't tell them. I was just in Montana last week playing, and they had this decal on the back of the car. Montana is full. I hear North Dakota is nice. This is about a kid I met on the Labrador coast. And again, you know, I'm speaking here in the point of view as a young kid. I was thinking about this today. You know, what compels me about writing from the point of view of, and I think I got it. I was just thinking, well, I think it was just outside Manawa, I had this thought, you know, it was a small thought. And it was that people at the age of 13 and 14 are in such a cusp of things, and things are electric. They sure were for me. And so if I get a chance to write from that point of view, just on the edge of knowing and being innocent. So this is where that comes from. And yes, I do think of what I'm going to say to you on my way up here. And I'm really glad to be here. My name is Mark Jarvis. I'm in grade 6. I was born in Hopedale, Labrador. Yeah, the brand new running shoes. Long enough for school. Say, what you guys come to Hopedale for? And the time goes slow on some days. And the time goes slow on some days. My sister made these whales. She's in the band at school. She'll be playing for you guys later on. Yeah, the summer here was good. Not so much to do. Say, where does that ship you come here on come from? And the time goes slow on some days. And the time goes slow on some days. Yeah, I think she done good. The whales were here last spring. No, they're gone and they won't be coming back. No, we weren't out on the land. My uncle took the boat. My dad, he's gone to Halifax. And the time goes slow on some Coast Guard had them here last spring. I really like your ship. Could I go on that ship? Will you guys be coming back again? On some days. My name is Mark Jarvis. I'm in grade 6. I was born in Hopedale, Labrador.
guys come to Hopedale Farm, and the time goes slow on Sundays.
Pretty beautiful.
I don't know quite how this tune fits into the repertoire, but I'm gonna do it tonight. It's a pretty angry song, and yet it was inspired by a book by Cormac McCarthy called The Road, but it was also inspired by the events that I've seen in the Middle East that are going on this week. And it's just apocalyptic, and sometimes you just can't prevent. You know, you can let it go and let it go, but sometimes there's just the torque of events gets to you, and that's where this comes from. Just a combination of that darkness. I'm going to dedicate it to a guy who's here tonight, Lyle Burwell. And Lyle and I used to be in the bar wars of Ottawa, and I had a rock band, and Lyle was the first punk that I ever met. He really was. He had the spirit of it, and I love him for it. And I'm grateful that you're here. But so this is just an angry song. Down, he looked back, mercy, mercy, for what I've done. Oh mercy, for what I've done. I sin, they cried to me. Them horses have been unleashed. Words come spewing up from his mouth. That train was on fire, but they couldn't get out. Mercy, mercy, what I've done. Oh mercy, mercy, what I've done. Come a star child in the body of a snake. He screamed in the wind and made no sound, and the blood come dripping down from his hands. Mercy, mercy, for what I've done. Yeah. Mercy, mercy, for what I've done. His eyes are sunk, his mouth is slack, And he shuddered each time he looked back. Mercy, oh mercy, for what I done. Mercy, oh mercy, for what I done. Just one more song by myself, and then invite Kate back up to join me. I've had a few requests for this, and this song, well, it comes from up here, from Superior. It's called Wood Smoke and Oranges, and I realized that for me to do this song, and the same with Scott, you don't need to say this about Sudbury. Sudbury's a fine place, and Sudbury's, you know, Canoe taught me this, that the esprit de corps of Northwestern Ontario and Northern is for the same place, you know. It's only interrupted by Sault Ste. Marie. And the unfortunate town of Port Arthur, which I barely acknowledge. So, but it was Canoe that actually, we had, when I was playing my songs from Northwestern Ontario, and they were doing their songs, it was just like, it fit. And so I did this tour with them across Canada, and we had so much fun, and it's still a great memory for me today. Anyway, about this song is I really believe, and I'm sure that you do, Kate, too, that if some of these songs, if you don't go do them, if you don't get in a canoe, or if you aren't with the dogs, then you can't sing the song. It's like you have to go out there on Superior to get your license in order to do the song. And I feel that very strongly about this song. So I'm very happy to be returning to Lake Superior this summer to get my license back. Yeah, recertification and terror. Wood smoke and oranges, powerful canoe, would course the inland ocean to be back to you. No matter where I go to, it's always home again, to the rugged northern shore, in the days of sun and wind, in the land of the silver bird, cry of the moon. Something about this country, it's a part of me too. We nosed her in by Arkansas about 4:15 in days. She said, paddle down the Spirit at the mercy of the waves. The Wannigans were loaded down and a gift left on the shore. For it's best that we surrender to the rugged northern shore. In the land of the silver bird, cry of the there's something about this country, it's a part of me. The waves smashed the smoky cliffs of old Woman Bay, where we fought against the back swell, then went on our way. I talked to you, spirits. By the vision pits we saw them walk the agate beaches of the mighty Gargantua, in the land of the silver birch, cry of the lone. There's something about this country, it's a part of me too. I turn my back upon these things I tried to deny. This coastline of my dreams, but it turns me by and by. It tossed the mighty ship around, it smashed the lighthouse door, sent shivers up my spine. The rugged northern shore, in the land of the silver bird, cry of welcome. There's something about this country, it's a part of me, June. Firewood, smoke and oranges, path of old canoe. I would course the inland ocean to be back to you. No matter where I go to, it's always home again, to the rugged northern shore and the days of sun and wind. Please welcome back, Kate Lee.
There I am. Here I am. Always wanted to be able to sit and play because that's what Ian does, and I think he's cool, but I have to struggle with it. So here I stand beside you. I guess this is my last stand. On the idea of needing to have that, to be able to own the song or perform the song, I attempted to move away from the Yukon about 3 years ago, and it's been kind of interesting. I've been still going back in the summers, but I've been away the rest of the year. And there's this term we use up north called a chichako. It comes from, in the Yukon anyway, from Robert's service, and like around the gold rush era, and the idea of these folks that came up in the summertime and they hadn't had a Yukon winter yet, and so they didn't really know what it was like to be up north. And it's been interesting the last few years just only going up there for the summer and going, well, I've become a chichako, and trying to feel okay about that, trying to sing about the Yukon even though I haven't been there for a winter in a couple of years. When I was getting ready to leave the Yukon, I thought it was going to be forever. It was really only for a few months, but still it felt pretty dramatic at the time. And I was trying to imagine what it was going to be like to live in the South. I was moving to Ottawa, and what it would be like to not be a dog musher and a paddler, and not kind of spend each day just trying to figure out how to stay alive in the cold. And, since then I've been having lots of good experiences driving in traffic down here and realizing there are other challenges to be discovered.
There are a number of people in Ottawa out in the cold suffer from the Phoenix pay system.
Water bound in battle at my side.
ship headed for the Beaufort Sea. At night I see white water pounding, battle like Marseille, cascading down through the canyons, a roaring sound of a wild ride. Is there to be no wonder coming, challenge to my pride, to rock this boat so I paddle that flow power through the other side. Choose a brave channel, bottom out again, paint left on the riverbed, showing where we've been. Tense pitch but the floodline, footprints in the sand. I'm making plans already to head back to the land. At night I see white water pounding, battle like Marseille, cascading down through the canyons, a roaring sound of a wild ride. Is there to be no wonder coming, challenge to my pride, to rock this boat so I paddle that flow power through the other side, to rock this boat so I paddle that flow power through the other side.
Could you tell the story of you on the Wind River?
Yes.
Thank you. We've remained polite over this tour. It's been difficult.
It has been difficult.
It has been difficult. But it culminated at the Belvoir restaurant over her decision to have poutine, not realizing that the hot beef was the better luncheon. We have not really recovered from that difference, but nor have our stomachs.
Although I had poutine again a couple nights ago. It was my first time since the Belvoir.
It's not good for you.
No, nobody ever said it was good for you. But I did, earlier in the day, I had my blood pressure taken and it was quite low, and I figured, you know, I can handle this.
Exactly. That's why I can't have poutine. If I had it, that would be it.
That's why you gotta have it while you're young, right? I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
No, but
That
it
is why this tour is coming to an end.
So you just want the story, okay.
No, I want the song too.
No. Then then I get to request after that of you. Okay. Well, I paddled on the Wind River, which is in the northern part of the Yukon, a couple of years back. It's in the Peel watershed, and I was guiding a trip up there, and we were going through this section of the river that I recalled as being, in my last song I was mentioning this idea of bottoming out. So when I'd been on this river previously, there's a lot of bottoming out, just not enough water really, and so we spent the whole time trying to choose a channel that had enough water. And then this is my second time on the river, and it was sort of the opposite situation where there was just so much water, and it was kind of coming up around us in this way that we didn't really clue into the fact that the river was going into flood. And it got to the point where there just wasn't a shore anymore. We were having to kind of back ferry our way towards a bit of gravel and grab the bow line and kind of throw ourselves on shore if we needed to land ever. And then it got to the point, we were coming into the Peel River, and I thought, well, when we get to the Peel, everything's going to kind of widen out and it'll be fine. I was sort of telling everybody, yeah, this is just this one section of the river, it's going to get better. And we got to the Peel, but the Peel was just, it was this massive thing. There are a number of rivers all feeding into it, and so of course it was just gigantic, and a section that normally would be flat water and really nothing to kind of worry about. There was just boils and standing waves in places that they shouldn't be, and we were catching our breath in sort of the inside bend of the river. We would have gone to shore, but again, there wasn't any. In this situation, it was all willows on the inside
Willows.
corner. But there was only kind of the tops of the willows were showing, so you couldn't land. There wasn't anything. So we were kind of hanging out, chugging some water, just catching our breath, getting ready for the next bend. And as we came around the next corner, suddenly we were coming up to the outside bend of the river, which was a cliff bank that was eroding, and whole spruce trees were falling down into the river. And it's quite dangerous. Of all the river features, I mean, I know that's an understatement, but of all the river features to have these massive sweepers, we turned our bows upstream so we could ferry hard away from it. But we had to ferry through these gigantic standing waves. And as we were doing that, I was looking over at my co-guide, and he was disappearing in the waves. I couldn't see him anymore. They were so big. And we got across, we were sort of in the middle of the river, and there was a little spit of gravel that was just barely above water, and so we were able to get out onto it. And my co-guide and I walked as far away as we could from the guests, with calm smiles on our faces. Oh, we're just going to have a look down the river and scout the next corner. And when we got it really was only sort of 10 feet of gravel that we had to walk on, but we got as far away as we could. And I looked at my co-guide and said, I've never paddled anything this big before. And he said, I haven't either. So I said, I don't think we should paddle anymore. And so then we got the sat phone out and made some calls and found out that, yes, there's a flood going on. We should probably stop paddling. And it wasn't really a great spot to stop. There really wasn't any land. And it was the gravel that was there was wet because it had been covered with water pretty recently, and we didn't know if the water was going up or down at that point. So anyway, it ended up being a couple of days that we hung out on this little piece of gravel, and we pitched our tents that night on wet mud because the water had dropped a little bit, and set our alarm to get up every hour and check to make sure the water wasn't coming back up. And it all ended up working out here I am.
Obviously.
But it's interesting. I'm playing at the Canoe Symposium in Toronto this weekend, and there's a guy presenting there, Bob Henderson, he was on the river at the same time, but about one day downstream from us, and he's presenting on the same flood. I spoke to him on the phone last week, and so he talked to a few different people who were at different parts of the river during this flood, and kind of interesting to hear what everybody went through. And so it does seem to be, even though that was in many ways a very stressful situation, it's one of the best trips I've ever been on. I think often these ones with these sort of real challenges are the ones that we keep with us forever. And I've been working as a canoe and hiking guide the last couple summers in the Yukon, and having experiences like this and then trying to kind of readjust into the civilized world afterward, I've been finding, I'm truthfully still struggling with it. It's been months now since the summer, but I'm still going, well, where's the canoes? So I guess this is a song about all that. Age came to your face this summer. Cottonwood looks older than pine. All the days it took to get here weathered your face and measured the time. When summer hit, you took off running, but you went too hard. You busted your
Yeah, bravo.
Would you play Gather Me Around?
Gather me around. Okay. This is a song written on my first trip up to the Arctic. It was on the little Diomede Island, right in the middle of the Bering Strait. And we came in, and all of a sudden above me was like 15 or 20 minutes where the sky was blackened by a type of bird called ancient merlets, and completely black in the ocean. There must have been 2 or 3 million of them. And then all as if one, like in a murmuration, they just were circling around the top of the island, and they went, whoop! And there was no birds. They were all under the rocks. So when you walked on the rocks, it was all chirping of these birds. And then in the early morning, and they were all gone again. It was quite amazing. And I met some kids there who were on the beach, and they were grabbing these ancient merlets and getting strings and going like this and then banging them against the rocks. It was rather brutal, but it was dinner. And that's what they had been sent out to do by their parents. So they had about 20 or 30 of these. I mean, really, considering there are a couple of million, it was not a big thing, but it seemed a bit brutal to me. And then they came up to me, and this is my first introduction into Northern anarchists. They said, "What's that thing in the middle of your head?" And I said, "It's a mole." "Oh, we don't have those up here. What does it do?" I said, "It's my smile button." For 2 hours they were pressing my forehead. I said, "The next time it's my angry button." Then the courageous kid comes up and he goes, "Get ready to run, you guys." So that's where. No floods, just a trip back to the community hall where the 2 televisions were playing, one a porn channel and the other one the crash and burn channel out of Detroit.
Wow.
That's the part of the contradictions of the norm. So we had invited the elders out to our ship, and this friend of mine had a set of puzzles, you know, the things that ruin Christmas, you know, where you have to unloop the brass ring from the rope. Well, we had heard that the Diomeders were really good lateral thinkers, and really good. And there was this number 10 that I couldn't figure it out. The guy who was making them, of course, did. But we put them down in front of the 6 elders there. And unlike us, who were fumbling with it constantly, they didn't touch it. They just looked at it for 15 minutes. Then the youngest guy got it, but he wouldn't touch it because the oldest guy had to get it. It was a rule. And 20 minutes into it, the old guy gave it a chuckle, picked it up, and took it apart without ever touching it. It was just like an introduction to the Arctic. You think it's one thing, and then all of a sudden it's something entirely different.
Drink water.
Blasted landscape, you about as big as a grain of sand. Say, rocks tossed by a muddy hand, gather they round. Icebergs moving in the northern ocean. For me, a thing once frozen. For me, a thing once frozen. Gather they round. Smiling faces on the beaches. Our world will be on their reach now. Can I say that what I see is here, right here? Smiling faces on the beaches. Our world beyond their reach now. How can I say that what I see is here, right here, never been around? Like a moss and a bow-headed bones, nothing left but a ring of stone. May we walk so right in the world we roam. Mystery speaks in a no shuck standing. Mystery speaks in a tongue get talking. Mystery speaks in a throat singer chanting. Smiling faces on the beaches. I'm a world beyond their reach now. How can I say that what I see is here, right here? Smiling faces on the beaches. I'm a world beyond their reach now. How can I say that what I see is here, right here? Together we renown. Some bow-headed bones, nothing left but a ring of stone. Maybe walk so light in the world we roam. Thank you.
Well, I went to Ireland a few years back. I took my bike with me and spent about 2 months biking around in the rain by myself and crying at the end of each day because it was so miserable. That really is what happened. And I was traveling in the fall, and it was the off season also for a reason, because it's colder and rainier in the fall. And I went on a lot of historic tours while I was there, and one of the benefits of traveling at that time of year was there weren't a whole lot of other tourists. And so I'd show up for these tours, and I'd often be the only person there.
Perfect.
Which I really liked, because I got to ask as many questions as I wanted from the tour guide. They sometimes found it a little uncomfortable. There was this one tour in particular that I did of Glasnevin Cemetery. It's just sort of on the outskirts of Dublin. And I was really excited about this particular cemetery. It's kind of who's who of Irish history. They're all buried along beside each other there. And when I got there, I was the only person on the tour, and the tour guide showed up and he saw me there, and he just kind of slumped over in disappointment. He was about to leave town on vacation, and if I hadn't been there, he could have left a little earlier. So that kind of set the tone for that tour. And another tour that I went on was in Derry in Northern Ireland. And this was a tour of the Bogside, which is the Catholic neighborhood in Derry. And the tour guide was a man that had grown up in the Bogside during the Troubles. And the content of the tour was about the people that he'd seen getting killed during his youth, during Bloody Sunday. And he was pointing out the places where he'd seen people getting shot. And he talked about his brother who was a hunger striker. And he talked about his parents going to visit his brother in jail, and his brother asking for his parents' blessing to go on hunger strike, and them getting their blessing. So this song is written from the perspective of those two tour guides. Oh, good job. He's a real deal with his watch cap and wellies. He's giving a tour of Bogside's dead. Well, this ain't for tourists, it's bloodstains and anger. It's his town, his story, that's what he said. Here's where I had to hide and watch while my cousin died. Here's how I felt when the British denied it all. Sing it to the hills, boys. Sing to the bloodline of kings, boys. Singing for 800 years. I'm throwing off fighting and tears, and I'm singing for the strikers, hungry and alone. Sing for the ones that raised them, and for letting their loved ones go. Showing up late for his afternoon date with very keen Kate at the graveyard in fall. As we tour Glasnevin, I am enthralled with him, and he thinks I'm strange for caring at all. The past is too painful, and these are his heroes. He fought right beside them, be buried by O'Connell's wall. Sing it to the hills, boys. Sing to the bloodline of kings, boys. Singing for 800 years. I'm throwing off fear, fighting and tears, and I'm singing for the strikers, hungry and alone. Sing for the ones that raised them, and for letting their loved ones go. Yes, sing for the ones that raised them.
Well, I think that you can see and hear why I've enjoyed so much working with Kate over the last month and a half. We've known each other quite a number of years. When she was very young, her mom, Carolyn Stewart, was one of the movers and shakers in the independent music world in Canada. And her dad was a bluegrass player, and so it's exceptional, and I think that she embodies a folk tradition and an adventure tradition that leads me on, and I really admire her. Her dietary habits, however, it's getting late, and I'd just like to thank you, and on behalf of Kate and I, thank you, Scott, thank you, Barry, so much for your sound tonight. It really felt good. And Michael, if you're still up, thank you so much. Pleasure. Thank you. And for everybody who made the dinner, it was just fantastic. So thank you all very much.
Okay, we'll do a quick one.
My Norwegian one. Okay, my Norwegian one. Will you sing along? Yeah. Okay, Kate is asked a request. She's missing Norway tonight. So I'm going to do a song which demands that you sing along with it. It is, as Kate says, my Norwegian song. I sang this on a ship near Tromsø with a Norwegian captain who didn't find it amusing at all. And I realized that the book of humor in Norway is short. If there's any Norwegians, it's probably Finns. Anyway, oh man, I had to put the happy knees on for him for the rest of the trip. He didn't find that funny at all. And he said my accent wasn't Norwegian, it was more like the Swedish chef. You know, so anyway. But I'm not going to rehearse it. This goes, all you need to do is sing it. You need to be closer to the mic, I know. She's never sung this song, and I'm sure it's embarrassing for her because this is really bad. This is the lowest part of the barrel. I've been told by other professionals you don't need to do this anymore, Ian, but it seems I do. Anyway, so all the last line is absolute vodka and vine. We won't even rehearse it, okay? Are you ready? I hope this makes you homesick. I was on a slow boat, I was on a slow boat up Nordic. We were having a hell of a good time when one night I got Lily hammered on absolute vodka and wine. On absolute vodka and wine. That's right. Well, I thought I would have one slamming, but on slamming it turned into 9. I was out of control, I was backhammer shoulder on absolute vodka and wine. On absolute vodka and wine. That's right. Nordicking around that value, there's rolls running around in my mind. So I jump overboard into the fjord and I feel absolutely fine. On absolute vodka and wine. That's right. So I swim to the shore and I scuffle. I get past up here in good time. But my wife, she says, Sven, you've been pissed again. This is absolute the last time. No more absolute vodka and wine. That's right. So I turn a new leaf, I get lucky. No more drinks, drinking, Duncan and Klein. I no longer get Lily hammered on absolute vodka and wine. I no longer get Lily hammered on absolute vodka and wine. I'm just going to do it quick, because somebody asked for it and I forgot to do it. Voice calling on the mountains, calling on the mountain, the water rushes down. Voice backing on the snowfields, tumble down the rock face, rushing to the sea. How I wish I could fly with you. I have clipped my wings. One day I will fly with you when the telling heals the pain.
wish I could fly with you. I have cleared my way. One day I will fly with you when the telling heals the pain. When the telling heals the pain. When the telling heals the pain. Thank you, Hans.
Yeah.